Welcome back, episode 55 of the Ground Up podcast. In this episode, social media transformation, it's blockchain and AI, they have to have synergy.
VLOOK, our family safe word.
No, do you?
Is the genius idea of the week.
It's a big month in terms of deals. It's £26 million just in those two sites.
Bank of England changes on the base rate as well, which is happy days.
One of the reasons I wanted to start the ground up is I wanted my opinion digitally imprinted on the internet so I can refer back to it in 10 years' time and go, I just saw it coming.
Ground up sound. Ooh, yeah. Real estate deals. We lay them down. Let's get those deals. Deals. Deals making money, baby.
Welcome back, episode 55 of the Ground Up podcast. I've got a new setup, which I'm quite gassed about. And Dorian doesn't. Dorian's got his iPhone today. But this is going to be a good episode. And for anyone who watched the last episode, wow, I was dying. I watched it last night, which was the same day it came out. I was absolutely dying. So if you like that last episode, drop us a comment, drop us a like and subsquala, of course. Subsquala. And for anyone who doesn't know, we are 4 property developers based in the UK. We run various businesses as well, and we talk about all things property and business every week. So make sure you subsquala to our YouTube channel and stay up to date with all of our posts. We're trying to be as useful as we can, sharing free information. In this episode, we'll be catching up with each other, talking about our weeks, as well as some major change in OpenAI's ChatGPT model. They've opened up a new product. It's fascinating, kind of like a new social media AI agent, futuristic madness. We'll hash into that, and then Bank of England changes on the base rate as well, which is happy days. And then we'll go into a load of questions, bits and bobs like that. So enjoy the episode. Subsquala, sweet. How are we getting on, boys?
Last night I was laying in bed watching a Subsquala episode, and my wife just rolls over a little bit tired and said, "What are you watching?" I was like, "Just me." I find it a bit weird when people catch you watching yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Man,
I didn't know you were going to add it. Didn't know you were going to aad that to the. We at the start we recorded it because you went in for like bits to use. I don't know we were going to use the podcast. So I was just like, yeah, whatever.
Going on.
No,
After it was so funny, I was
Shut
like,
those out.
keep it fucking in. It's too good.
I don't mind talking shit and just going on a tangent and talking about what I'm passionate about. But when you try and get me to say 3 or 4 sentences, a bit like when Dorian and I was together the week before trying to do the adverts. I mean, man, the amount of takes of just like trying to get.
Have you ever done a best man speech?
I have done a best man speech. Yeah.
Were you
That's
terrible at off the script?
No. Going freestyle is easy. It's sticking to what you have to say is what I find difficult.
That's what I did last week for my brother. I just freestyled the speech. I don't like having notes in front of me. Otherwise, I just feel like you end up like stuttering on words. But D, have you seen it? Have you seen the last week's episode?
No, I've not seen it as of yet.
Mate,
no,
just watch the first 10 minutes. It's so fucking good, mate. It's so good.
Have you just rolled out of bed and put a shirt on, D? You're a bit tired, mate.
No, I've been doing a lot of traveling. So and for those that obviously are listening to this, you probably don't realize, but I'm actually late, and the guys have been waiting for me. So apologies, but I've been having either midnight finishes, 1 a.m. finishes, and 4 a.m. starts for consecutive several days. So apologies, but I am here and I've got.
How was it though, mate?
So
You with
to go?
You with our friend Ronan, weren't you, in Ireland?
I did a couple of things, yeah. So I went to Liverpool to meet a business owner that I know that has he's like an innovative engineer. They bring him in to do. He works with some of the major car manufacturers across the world, and basically they work. They design and they have their factories in place, but they're building thousands of stuff. So now and then stuff comes up where they don't have a machine for it, and they're more like they have a problem and they need a solution. So they bring him in and they're like, "This here, we need to either double handle it or it's just too slow or it's a problem." So he will go away and he will design a machine and then manufacture it for them. And one of the machines that he showed me was just that, really. They had something as simple as where your foot rests out in your car, in the factory when they make it, or this particular factory. There wasn't a machine that was like doing any. A machine made it, two people had to manually handle it and awkwardly maneuver it into a vehicle. That bit didn't have a machine, and obviously it's very sharp. It requires two people, and it's also heavy. So that machine there that I was stood next to was designed for a one single person to operate. There was no electronics, all hydraulics, and it would be able to safely pick it up, angle it, and maneuver it, stack it, and ready for the machine for the assembly bit. So yeah, it was all really interesting. But then obviously you've got the story of how he started his business, and then I moved on to meet a developer that I know in the area. Went on to a podcast, and then flew over to Dublin to meet Ronan, which we all know is a very experienced developer, and he's doing some impressive stuff. So he was at one side, he was building the Tesco superstore. He's building tens and tens, and then soon to be hundreds of apartments. And I got to go behind the scenes. I sat in one of his meetings with his team, how he runs the construction side, the commercial side. And he's a very, very intelligent person. So I love spending time with people like that. And I learned a lot actually taken away from it. And he's such a big thinker as well. You know, he's constantly striving to make some huge moves. Like, I'm ambitious, and he is equally ambitious. And he's talking about going global. So
Yeah, mate. Well, I think for anyone who doesn't know, we've had Ronan on this podcast before, and he is an absolute beast, and he walks through quite a few of his sites with us. So if you want to go check out those episodes, check them out. And he came from Mace before, didn't he?
Yeah.
He was I can't remember, was he site manager, project manager, I think, at Mace. I can't remember the exact job role, but he was exposed to big projects, and he took those learnings.
Dubai,
Yeah, and he just went big.
And Bahamas, wasn't it?
Can I just share something on the point that you're talking about, Dorian, about this guy that's like almost sounds like a solution engineer designing crazy things. I met a guy who's an engineer, and I said, "What's your job?" And he basically redesigns baked bean cans. And I was like, "Right, how could you?" I was like, "How can you redesign anything?" Basically, the original baked bean can, if you found one from like 50 years ago, was way heavier and had way much more aluminium in it. Without that, obviously they're trying to make sure you preserve the food, keep the integrity of the can, and also do the job it needs. And he was telling me his sole job is just keep redesigning, retrying things. So he's probably on 60, 70 grand a year. But if he saves 1 gram in aluminium across the board, it saved companies millions. And it's crazy how something's been around so long can still be completely redesigned.
yeah.
There's that guy for I can't remember what bottle company it was, but back in like the 60s or 70s, and he reinvented the in like a plastic bottle, the bit where it opens, not the lid, but it also impacts the lid, but where the water comes out. I can't remember what you call it, the spout or whatever. Let's call it a nozzle. Bottleneck. There you go. The bottleneck where the lid goes onto. He figured out a way, because before him, they couldn't make it smaller. They couldn't make it smaller because they couldn't make it smaller without it guggling too much, without it going goo 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 goo. He found a way to shape it and design it to make it smaller so that it poured smoother and saved them X amount in plastics, in manufacturing, in the shape design, and the lid that went on top. And he saved them billions just by like making it a tiny bit smaller, like literally from like there to there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like when I have to put AdBlue in the truck, some of these AdBlue plastic canisters, they don't have any like air holes in it. So the when you're pouring it in, the air backs up, and it takes ages getting all the AdBlue into the truck. Whereas there's this other brand where they designed in like this air feature, kind of like basically when you tip it upside down, the excess air is coming out, no spillages, and the AdBlue just like bombs into the truck. And you're like, that was so much easier. You know, why can't they all do that?
Innovation. But how's everyone's week? So how's your week been, D? Other than going to see how's work, how's business?
I've got a couple of sites due to come over the line now. They're quite large sites. They're £13 million each, and hopefully we're selling one this month and exchanging on the other one in terms of the sale. We bought it now, so the sale this month as well. So it's a big month in terms of deals. It's £26 million just in those 2 sites. Then we've got another site going to planning. I've got a restructure of some of the team. I've got a meeting today with fractional CFO, which I'm excited about, and I'm on the cusp. On the cusp is getting closer to hopefully signing a very, very good deal, which we're basically going to be scaling via partnerships with hopefully a social impact fund. So It's still not done yet. These things take ages. I've been in conversation with them now for about a year. I think you guys probably all remember. And but it's still there. Everything's really advanced. We're in legals. They're coming down to visit. So I can't wait to share with you all when that does happen. The finer details of it. But for now, I can't say too much more. But I've been working on that really. So that and then obviously a lot of traveling, meeting people, and then I'm feeding back messages to my team as I go. So yeah, fun stuff and busy.
How's Mia getting on? She doing all right?
Yeah, good mate. Yeah, good. The one good thing I have is just, fortunately, so the people who report directly to me, I just like working with really good people. I like working with A players. We've talked about it before. I don't really have patience for people who, you know, when I onboard somebody, I'm like, right, this is what we're trying to do. This is the vision. This is the objective. You on board for it? Do you want to do it? And if the answer is yes, then I'm like, great, let's go for it. And rightly or wrongly, if people just want to come and just do a basic clock in, clock out, and not really think too much about it, I can't work for too long with those people directly. I just can't do it. But yeah, but good mate, good.
Good.
And I think I'm not sure if I've been on the podcast since, but obviously I went up to see Stu as well. Did we talk about that last week?
No, you missed last week. We spoke about you last week on the one you haven't watched.
Go
I
watch
was
the episode.
traveling. I will watch
Yeah.
the episode. Yeah, it was funny with
No,
it.
it's good.
There was
It's good.
jokes could fly with it.
Yeah, it's probably the best one we've done.
I was
Yeah.
crying.
I don't know about that.
I'm joking.
Basically,
Pete.
why stitches up, mate? We had to do fucking some 20-second fucking ad thing, and he put it all in there and stitched us right up. That's right for you.
But that's Alex. Is Alex?
Yeah, right. Keep it in. It's like,
Hey.
you know,
Oh,
fuck you, that little red recording sign anymore.
Mate, do you know what though? It nearly got 200 views in the first 16 hours though, so it might have done well for us.
So he's going to start throwing us all into the bus now, going for it.
Exactly that. You got to be careful of that. Careful what you say. No, my week's been good, man. It's been all right. I mean, we're changing direction with Windsor. I think I've got a meeting with the two investors because we originally wanted to put the two flats upstairs. Gales have gone board approval now on this, and we're just negotiating the last bits on that deal. We want to move that ahead because our bridge expires in July, so we want to know what we're doing if we're going for dev. We're going to still try and lock in the Class G and then just basically start work, so it's indefinite. We've got it in the future. Or if we sell the building, we can do the two flat. And the flats are amazing. I've been so focused on wanting to build these things because even more for pride than anything, to have these flats done in my mind and then have the views up the front would be excellent. But who knows? So I've got a meeting with that. What else has been going on? Yeah, the bank's so close now. We're sticking up door signs. We're getting the outside finished, getting the snaggings being done. It's looking amazing. I've got like 12 guys on 2 HMOs. They're absolutely flying. I'm going from here straight to meet the investor for breakfast and show him what's been going on the last 4 weeks over there. We went and bought a 9-person people carrier for Twickenham. We start Monday officially. We've ripped everything out and we've got a plan to go in there and absolutely attack. But when you're looking at £28 a day parking and you've got loads of vans and stuff, we're thinking because this is a contractor's problem rather than a developer problem, because we're both sides of the coin. We literally have the ability to save thousands by just thinking outside the box. So what we went and done day before yesterday, 12 grand, 9-person people carrier. We were looking at restrictions underneath 1.95 meters, which meant there was only one type. We can get an 8-people carrier and get it into the multi-story car park, which is literally a 2-minute walk from the site. Or we're paying £25 a day out in the car. Oh no, that was for the multi-story. Outside was like £6 an hour. It's crazy. So we went on Just Park. We found a parking space, which is a 4-minute walk from the site. It's a large parking space for £274 a month. We went and bought a 9-person people carrier. We've got 9 bodies meeting up in Farnborough because we've got unlimited parking. They'll boot up for 7 o'clock, 7:15. We've got Monday to Friday, 24 hours a day, this parking space. And we're based, and it's ULEZ compliance. We bought a 2016 one. It's got 80,000 miles on it, but the others are like 185,000 being sold for £3 or £4 less. So our plan is buy it, use it, and then sell it at the end. So, and that will save us £5 grand, £6 grand just on that one decision. And then we'll create the culture. And we'll have 9 bodies there every day. And then we've got obviously our site agent going up there, and then we've got our contractors. And I've also located a road which is about a 5-minute drive away. So the plan will be for all of our contractors that come up is that if they're there at a certain time, they can unload, go and park, and then I'll use this as a bit of a shuttle bus. So I'll bring people in from free parking and we'll bring them in to try and keep their costs down. So that is the genius idea of the week.
Fucking well done, mate. Innovation.
Cheers, mate.
Nice.
Innovation, that's what it's about. And that's
Jack?
me and Will.
One of our sites is in a town where there's no parking, and it's an absolute access nightmare. And I just said to the contractor, "You'll figure it out." And then walk off because
That's what our QS done. Just put parking, your problem.
Our closeness to that is very different. Yeah, I mean, good and bad as always. Social housing stuff is still, extremely stressful and difficult to manage and focus on other things, but it is what it is, and we're getting there. XP Surveys is good. XP Property is good. Similar to Dorian, actually, we've got 2 deals. One is 50-50. We just reneged the price, rightly, because we were going for we were sort of were probably overpaying for it to some degree, but there's reasons behind that. But we're renegotiating the price, and if that comes in, that's quite a big deal. And another one that is already in legals is a big deal. They'll be our 2 largest deals, so both 12 mil GDV, which is quite exciting, and working on capital raising for that and getting those underway. We've had a load of exchanges and sales happening. It's fucking mental in our business at the moment from a legal standpoint, because we've got sort of 40 plus finished units. It feels like we've got an exchange or a sale happening every day, and it's just like boom, 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 which is good. It's kind of like where we want to be, and I feel that we're kind of bucking the trend a little bit in the sales market, which is nice. There's a few events coming up as well where we actually get to get our hands on that money as well, because obviously the first part of sales goes to the bank, then you might get a retained part of the sale. So if you've got a 75% loan to cost mortgage, you might get a 25% bump, and then you obviously then have to work out what your investment structure is. So that'll be nice, because that's been a lot of hard work that's gone into our existing sales pipeline. 65 units. A lot of the sites we're working on are 2 years in. So it's kind of like a turn of events. Central Suites is busy. We're hiring at the moment for a PM because I'm managing 7 projects, which is boring. Just a few too many. And we had a good interview yesterday, so we'll see how that goes from offer stage. And then nothing else. I mean, I love this type of weather. I'm having a barbecue every day at home. I don't use the indoor kitchen at this time of year.
Nice.
Barbecue every day, rain or shine.
And you had a stag do, right?
My brother's stag do. He's getting married in Italy this summer. And that was, what you can imagine for 17 lads in a house. I mean, it was kind of like The Hangover. Someone chipped their tooth. There's injuries galore. It's a lot of wounded stuff. Well, right? Yeah, ran out of beer.
Nice, mate. Well done. Well, it's weirdly, my brother Robbie, got married last week. So,
congrats, Robbie.
Congratulations.
Everyone's getting married. Well done, Robbie. Robbie got married last week. This week, I've had Matt up. We've been working on a load of. We're rebuilding our whole website at the moment. We're determined to have the best property website in the UK, and I think it will be, because we're treating it like an ad funnel. Our website will be like an ad funnel in a way, but it will still be a website. And we've reshot. I did a big content day yesterday, reshooting a load of content for like the sort of like journey that someone would go on the website. So like a 2-minute, here's our business and a snapshot, site montage, kind of like really informative, and then a process driven video on the other page that's 2 minutes, trying to keep everything 2 minutes. That's going through all the processes and what you get as an investor working with us. And then another one that's like a meet the team 15-second of all senior heads. And then another one that's all about the case studies and things like that. And then we've redone all the copy, rebuilt all the UI and all that stuff. And it's going to be like so much better. And that feeds into everything else we're doing. So yeah, good, mate. I'm trying to hire a sales rep at the moment. It's difficult hiring a good salesperson.
Commission only?
No, it'll be base plus commission.
Okay.
Yeah, base plus commission. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But we need it now. We got too many. Like I've just got way too many fucking calls. Like next week, I've already got 15 calls booked in, and I've got to do the fucking day job. Dad's got like another 15. Matt's got a couple. Like we're spending hardly anything as well. So we want to be able to scale the sales team now. I mean, it's difficult to find the right people, but we'll crack it.
Sounds exciting, man. Well, I did the ground up tour over the past couple of weeks, and I'm not sure if you told about it last week, but obviously I went up to meet, your operations, right, and your team. I went to meet Stuart's operations and some of his team, and I obviously went to visit Jack as well. So, but I didn't get to But by the time Jack made his coffee on his coffee machine, I had to go after that. So it's
It's podcast.
yeah, he's got the slowest coffee machine in the world, basically. But so when you all go there, just beware if he offers you a coffee to say no thanks, but I'll just have some cold water instead. But no, I'm joking. It was very nice. But yeah, no, just for a quick update on that, just for the listeners. So Ryan, we went around some HMOs and we went around your office and stuff, and we actually went to a really nice Italian place. That food there opposite was really nice. So thanks for showing me that. But I liked your environment, your operation. It was really cool because you got a very family vibe. You got a lot of your family working for you, haven't you? It's a very friendly family like atmosphere, and you're doing tons of projects. You got loads on, and so it was great. It was great to see how you manage all that, and then obviously same with you, Stu, as well. You're like, well, you are Tornado Stu, aren't you? So it was great to see you whizzing around the office. I've seen the paperwork flying up from the desks as you was talking to all of your individual team members, and your site's obviously very impressive as well. So it was on a different range, and I love how you structure them too to get the best equity out of the deals. That was something Ronan did a lot of as well. I don't know if Ronan talked about his one project, but on the one side he structured the deal, bought it, and during the acquisition phase managed to redesign the Tesco car park to keep the number of parking spaces they needed, and he managed to get another 40 plus apartments.
The baked bean,
Wow.
the baked bean tin.
So that
What about
development there with a plot value, just call a plot value in that area because the decent values. You know, it could be 20, 30 grand the plot value. All that there, free. So
Yeah.
and then obviously Jack, we had a very good chat and a good Ben was there, so it was good to do a deep dive, and we started chatting about some deep topics, didn't we? About the challenges of business. What it's like having a business partner. How do you and Ben stay aligned? You know, what does the future look like for Tweedledee and Tweedledum? Pick which one's who. And no, I'm joking. All good stuff. But the reason for saying all that is I recommend to anybody listening here as well is one of the best ways that you can keep moving forward in the business is, I've said it before as well, but it's learning, it's knowledge, but it's network. Getting around all your guys' operations and the others I've met recently. I know I've got to balance it with actual working, but you learn and pick up so much and get so many ideas that when a situation comes up, you know, we had a situation come up yesterday, and the first thing I said is Ryan might be able to help us out with that. So reach out to Ryan, and you are helping us out with it temporarily. So appreciate that. But that's what network's all about, isn't it? You know, knowing what people do because you've met them and their resource, and being saying, oh, they might be able to help with that. Boom.
On the network on Wednesday, one of the lads, Matt's on there, and we're just talking about us kicking off in Twickenham. He's like, yeah, just give us a shout. I've got like 10 guys that are local. I'll be able to put 2 or 3 your way. If we want some local labourers just to come in and do, almost give them a full-time position for 6 months. So it's just so helpful.
Well, you're a local celebrity, you are, aren't you? When we was outside the Twickenham site, we was recording an ad, and some random guy came up to Stuart.
It's the ground up, mate. It's the ground up.
No. He made it very clear he didn't have a clue who I was.
I know, fuck you, Art. Love you, Stu.
So I politely and slowly started taking backward steps to let you two carry on your conversation, and just
Yeah, no, nice guy.
yeah.
They only lives around the corner,
No,
so
joking. No,
you can
that's
build him.
Yeah, nice. Well, look, speaking of network, D, to tease in nicely, the Ground Up Network is flying at the moment. So make sure, if you are listening to this, if you're serious about property, like, you just got to do it. It's £100 a month. But if you ever have an issue and you come onto the network, we have, as members, there's architects, structural engineers, planning consultants, contractors, local people who might be in your area. It's such a cheap and easy way to get to meet other people and also to hive mind ideas if you get stuck. I mean, we helped same guy, Matt, out on his structural warranty, just gave him a direct connect to the provider rather than a broker that he was going to use. And it saved him thousands of pounds. It saved him years and years worth of the subscription, which is why we've priced it so low so we can get the network effect. So make sure you go and check out 7-day free trial.
To give people an idea, I was going to go to an agency to get free labourers local to Twickenham. We need them immediately, and we'll make the plan next week. And by Matt saying that and putting a recommendation together, I've probably just saved myself like 12 grand just on on agency fees to try and get free
Yeah.
labourers over 6 months.
But that was the plan, wasn't it?
Ah.
We wanted to build a network that was useful for people, not something where we could just exploit people for 10 grand, 12 grand. Like we can actually provide a lot of value at a cheap cost, and it's working.
When Stu and I were on a call the other day, we were talking about something particular. I won't say it on here because it's a cheeky hack that you can do essentially. And when I said it, there was like 6 guys that were just like, and you could just see the cogs turning and the money coming back in. And then next session, they're all like, love that, already doing it.
You don't know what you don't know, right? And obviously, we all understand. We all don't know everything, and I'm learning stuff now from some of the members. It's great, and like listening to people's stories and how they're putting deals together and structuring stuff. You just got to take 1-2% and apply it, and it will change your whole game. So yeah, well worth. Is it 100 quid a month in it? It's like
100 quid a month now, but as it grows, we might up the price. So make sure you join.
Lifetime membership though, £100 a month at the moment.
Yeah.
And then every week you've got 2 of us on every week to have a chat, have a Zoom, make your dinner, listen to us, talk about people's situations. It's good. I love it. Look forward to it. It's my favourite part of the Wednesday evenings. And you guys do Monday, right?
Yeah, me and Dee do Monday. And if you want to check it out, check it in the podcast notes or in the description section. There should be a link straight to it. You click it, sign up, takes you 2 minutes, and it's 7-day free trial. Cancel anytime. Nice. Cool. All right, let's get on to the topics because there's this is and I know Dee's gonna go, but trust me, this is big. This is like social media transformation. It's kind of like where social media and the economy are gonna like blend into one. And I'm not going to toot my own trumpet here, but I'm going to toot my own trumpet here. I tweeted about this years ago, and I had a debate on Instagram DMs with a guy called Mo Gordat, who's an ex-director of Google AI's department. And I said to him, trust me, blockchain and AI, they have to have synergy. They're 2 phenomenons that have come into the world. One of them creates absolute abundance in the digital realm. The other one creates scarcity in the digital realm. And we need, for societal cohesion, we need these 2 things to come together to put a price on digital scarcity. Otherwise, we're just going to fucking go down this road of fake AI, fake content, crazy amounts of information, no one knowing what's true, who's the arbiter. We need things to change. So let me fucking show you. This shit's going to blow your mind, right? When you think about this in the limit. So Sam Altman, who is the founder, one of the founders and CEOs of OpenAI, has just done a big announcement. There's like an hour-long video you can go and watch on YouTube of him and his team showing all the details here. But Sam Altman's world being the new sort of brand, Sam Altman's world now wants to link AI agents to your digital identity, right? So let's break this down. So a simple plan to build the real human network. And for the viewers' benefit, I'm sharing some things on the screen right now. So number 1, build an anonymous proof of human. Number 2, launch and distribute ownership through a token to bootstrap network. Number 3, reach critical scale and show initial utility. Number 4, decentralize and scale further. Number 5, reach global scale and bring the benefits of AGI to every human. It's kind of like their 5-step mission statement for what they're going to do here. So let's just explain it. So World, a Web3 project by Altman and Alex Blania's Tools for Humanity that was formerly known as Worldcoin, is based on the idea that it will eventually be impossible to distinguish humans from AI agents on the internet. To address this, World wants to create digital proof of human tools. After scanning your eyeball with a silver metal orb, World will give you a unique identifier on the blockchain to verify that you're actually a human. And this idea, and this is a quote from one of the founders there. So this idea of delegating your proof of personhood to an agent and letting it act on your behalf is actually super important, he says in an interview with TechCrunch. Instead of only allowing people you think are human on your website, you will also allow AI agents that represent a real human. This is where World ID comes in. Basically, what's going to happen here is you've got blockchain technology that can create immutability, scarcity in a digital world. You've got a coin that then prices in that blockchain to create sort of commerce off the back of it. Then you've got AI agents, and what they're trying to do is make it so that you as an individual have to go to one of these orbs that they're going to distribute around the world. You have to go to one of these orbs, sign up to the network, and you have to do it through facial recognition technology, and you have to kind of like do some poses for it so that it's very, very hard to corrupt. You won't be able to corrupt it. Once you've created your digital ID, that's then your new kind of ID on this AI blockchain network. You can then create your AI agent on top of that ID, and that AI agent can now perform tasks and everything for you on the internet, but it's only yours. It'll all link back to your ID. So there's kind of two yous then. There's you in the real world, and then there's you in the AI world or the internet world. And ever more increasingly, that AI agent's going to be performing the digital world tasks for you, reporting it back to you, the real human. And it's all going to be done in a way where there's coinage off the back of it. So the more productive you and your AI agent are, you're going to generate these coins, which is kind of like, you know, crypto within this world that you can then use and trade for real world commerce. I think it should be done with Bitcoin, but that's another conversation. But this is a big transformation in how the internet works, and also a huge leverage point just from a business model standpoint for OpenAI, because if they get the first mover advantage on this, the same way Facebook, people don't want to leave their Facebook for a new social media because they've got years worth of history on there. If you build up, you know, just a year's worth of AI intelligence with your agent and your digital ID, you don't want to change it then. Yeah. So this is massive. Like, this is like huge, and they want to decentralize it as well.
This is inevitable. We have to have some digital ID. The big bubble burst there is that this was all the same pitch was with a shitty coin called SafeMoon that, or there was another one, I can't remember the name of it, but all these people with centralized blockchain or databases is that you would go to this thing that would take 1,000 photos of you and it would create this digital impression. This has all been said time and time again. The big problem is the person who owns the database of all these IDs is centralized, which means whoever owns it can manipulate it, can hack it, can do what they want. So a centralized database, effectively what a blockchain is, will never work unless it's decentralized. And blockchain is the only one that is one. None of this will work if it's tied and pegged to Bitcoin, who no one owns. It's owned by everyone.
Yeah, I think from the coinage point, they have to use Bitcoin, but they are decentralizing it. They are going to decentralize. It
can't be centralized anywhere around the world. None of this ID and stuff. You will get governments and stuff trying to set up, centralized digital currencies and blockchain and ID, and everything will go digital in that place. But yeah, it won't work unless the fundamental database is decentralized.
I do think though that the risk in there is correct, and something I definitely agree with. I think that in the near future, probably there will be, probably in already some cases, you can't distinguish, and you definitely won't be able to in the future, I'm pretty sure, between humans and AI, for just purely like from online. I think that is definitely going to happen.
Have you looked at our family safe word?
No, do you?
That's good.
Yeah, you're supposed to. So apparently these AI bots. So essentially, like, let's say someone looks into your life and where your movements are. Apparently, these AI bots can record your voice. So it could go on our YouTube channel, record all of our voices, imitate us, and then put us in a distress phone call with our wives or partners or family and say, I'm held hostage. Don't call the police. Just transfer 10 grand to this account and they'll let me free. While you're just happily at work, it's imitating you. So what they recommend, I mean, that's obviously an extreme scenario, and also for you to get to a point of that, you might smell a rat anyway. But the principle is apparently you're supposed to have a safe word that's not accessible anywhere. So that in that situation, you say, what's the safe word? And they don't know the answer. Hey, press.
Have you seen that YouTube? Have you seen that?
I think that's a good point, actually. And I know where it's, but I do think that risk is really real. So everybody get a safe word.
Yeah, you seen that advert or that thing? It's like, does Karen work here? So if females feel uncomfortable in a bar, they should go to these bars that are all signed up to it and say to the barman, is Karen working today? And that's their safe word to make sure that if they feel under attack.
Yeah.
The trouble is, they were going to all these bars going, is Karen there? And they would have a Karen here, and no one knew what it was. And that would probably be the same with my wife. I'd have a safe word. What are you on about? Grandma's been dead for years. No idea.
The other issue, you go, yeah, Karen's here. Let me just go get her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's a great idea, but you got to try and remember it, and then if it happens,
you need a unique name. You need a name not as common as Karen.
I think you're touching on a point that's my not concern, because I think it is inevitable, but the thing that will make this work, this OpenAI's plan, and guaranteed there's going to be other providers who do the same thing now. There's going to be a race to the bottom who can offer the most utility to people. particularly business owners as well, by the way. Like I would definitely have an AI agent that could just act for me and do my things, knowing that it's mine and it's not going to kind of go off the rails. But the issue is 99.9% of people at the moment, they might like using ChatGPT and like for a couple of things to troubleshoot here and there, but are they going to adopt this as quick as OpenAI will need to make it useful? I think it's going to take a while for people to wake up.
It starts with the small things, I think. Like, if you look at X or Twitter or whatever, and you look at all the bots and the hundreds of thousands of bots that could just be set up immediately, if you tie it to money or energy, you literally, you could pay to have an account, which means someone's got to physically put some money in. And if it gets caught to be using as a bot, then you lose your initial payment. So you might put 20 quid on or 50 quid to become a Facebook user, and yet if you make that into a bot that starts spamming people, Facebook would close you down, then you lose your initial deposit. So that would stop all these bots immediately on all the social media channels.
Well, that's what
you
Elon
can't do that with Visa because it's too expensive. You can't do it on the payment network.
Elon tried to do that, didn't he, with the blue verification? The idea being that you have to pay us a trivial amount each month, and then it's hard. People aren't going to scale that because otherwise it's going to cost them lots of money. So the blue tick is the way you can verify things, but it doesn't mean that people can't still manipulate the rankings on the algorithm by using bots, and that's what happens. But to guarantee X and XAI with Elon, they're going to have to compete with Sam Altman on this because first mover advantage here. I know we talk about first mover disadvantage as well. I think first mover advantage here is going to be mega. So interesting race that's about to happen. But on other news, the Bank of England's just done us a nice little solid, and we've seen a 0.25 bips drop in the base rate. So quick little couple headlines for people. So Bank of England's just dropped base rate by from 4.5 to 4.25%. The cut was expected, but the bank's 9-person monetary policy committee was divided. 5 voted for the cut to 4.25%. 2 wanted a bigger cut to 4%, while 2 wanted no change. The bank's governor, Andrew Bailey, says lower inflation is behind the cut, but warns inflation will increase this year. Bailey also welcomes news of a new US-UK trade, although says he wasn't briefed on the details. And then just again for viewers' benefit, we've got a graph up here just showing the last sort of 5 years of inflation and interest rate data. You can sort of see the correlations there. And inflation is down at the moment. Andrew Bailey did warn that he thinks inflation is going to come back this year and go a bit higher. And it all depends. If the government's going to print more money and it's the shit show they're running at the moment, they're going to have to print more money. And that's just going to stimulate more inflation. But we can't afford to increase interest rates because I was going to go into a definite recession. That's going to be even worse. So what do you guys think about where we are currently? It's good that it's come down, obviously, helps us with borrowing. But what do we think about the long term?
They say it's meant to increase on average by 3 to 4% a year. That's the last piece of information I had. That there's not expected to have another massive spike in terms of shooting up 15-20% plus for a year, but it's steadily going to be increasing between 3 to 4% a year. And so just higher than inflation basically. So it's still a risk. And it could just take an upward spike. It doesn't take much for that to happen. And I think the biggest lesson I've had is that things can change so quickly. Nobody really knows. Obviously, living through the time frame that we've lived through, where it went from 0 to 100 incredibly quickly, and all confidence plummets and it goes worse. I think the key thing really is like what do you guys do in your business to try to hedge against that? What do you do?
Buy and hold assets, mate. Ride the inflation wave. That's all you can do. All you can do.
Yeah. I think, you need a backstop to the business, good cash reserves, assets. And that's what we're trying to do this year as a point of stabilizing the business is hold more reserves. We've sold off a few of our own development sites in the pipeline to clients so that they're then, they're funding the site. It becomes more of a profiteering exercise then for us in the short term rather than long term. We're just trying to balance the scales so that if we get into another 2022 scenario, it's not going to affect us so detrimentally. But I think holding reserves is the hardest thing for people to do because you don't want to really hold reserves, but I think you have to now if you want to hedge against that.
I think you've always had to hold reserves, really.
It was so hard, wasn't it, during that period? It was so hard to do.
Obviously, we're all in the property industry, which, Dorian, if we were in, for an example, some of our investors are in the tech space, and they're putting their surplus capital into real estate or developments that we're doing. So it's kind of like I feel that we're already in a place where it does combat inflation. But I mean, there's often if you're doing a development, right, and you say, right, if our costs go up 10%, our GDV comes down 10%, and our project takes longer, where do we end up? That's the analysis we do on every single project. Then every single project, we have to quantify why that our business can waste its time doing that specific project. But there's only so much you can do. There isn't a cheat code. There isn't a you are completely protected if you do this. There might be some strategies in that particular way, but then they're probably cash flow strategies that don't build assets, or opposite way around, where you're building assets but you need good cash flow. I don't think there is a cheat code. I think we're all doing a similar thing in different ways. We'll all be impacted slightly differently. Like cost inflation for construction doesn't impact us as much because we go into fixed price contracts. So that then is then pushed onto the contractor. But at the end of the day, if the contractor starts delivering a scheme and start losing money on it, then they're going to come back to the table and say, look, we'll go bust, or we renege the price. And then it hits us anyway. So I don't think there really is a way of getting around it.
Yeah.
You just got save capital. Just a quick story. I've been with St James's Place for 10 years on my pension. I pulled it out. It took me 10 years. What took 10 years with St James's Place to put into my own SIP, I've done in 10 weeks. I've made the same amount of money in 10 weeks over 10 years. It's because you have to understand what to save your capital in. Currency is one end of the scale. It's it's high frequency at the bases. The other end, then you've got gold central, then you've got Bitcoin and the far end. And we spend 80,000 hours working every year. No one spends 100 hours learning what the fuck this thing we're working for is. And if you do that and you save in the right things, Bitcoin absolutely thrives in when the tariffs happened, the uncertainty, that was the same fear on the markets as it was when it was COVID. Like, it was nowhere near as scary. But when you've got the Mag 7 dropping and losing 20% of their value overnight, and you've got Nvidia and Apple because of all the tariffs, Bitcoin's exploding because the money is capitalist in the basis and goes bigger, but it's what people put their money into. And still, less than 2% of the world understand what this thing is. This is an internet. And if you save in the right product, you'll be fine. And I think that's the real important thing, is that if people really take it seriously about why is their money debasing? Yes, you can buy assets and property, but until Bitcoin, property was the best thing you could put your money into. So I think it's just the last 3 years, while this inflation thing was going crazy, was the time to learn about it and don't get left behind, really. And I've been shouting from the rooftops. And one of the reasons I wanted to start the ground up is I wanted my opinion digitally imprinted, time-stamped on the internet, so I can refer back to it in 10 years' time and go, I just saw it coming. And if you just look at the charts, it's going mental. I'm just so glad I've got some of my family members now and some of my best friends in on it, just to get them off zero. Go and buy 50 quid's worth, just so you pay attention. And it is very important to understand what you're saving.
Look,
what is capital?
I'm there with you, mate. I'm there with you. Bitcoin all the way. If you're going to hold reserves, hold it in Bitcoin. Don't hold it in fucking currency.
That is your capital. That is your personal reserve to make sure you can get yourself out of a problem. Because if inflation's going up 4%, Bitcoin's going up 40%. That's the difference,
And D, what do you think the risk for you? Because obviously you must be thinking about this all the time. Where do you see that? How are you going to mitigate it?
We think about it. We think about it all the time because the Achilles heel of our business model is that we give a fixed price to the client. So it is B2G, like business to government, and we get paid well, all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, if you talk about like the BCIS build cost indices, if you say 2019 was 100 base, I'm not even going to dumb it. I'm not even going to complicate it. Let me just dumb it down. From 2019 to today, build costs have gone up about 50%. That is roughly what I would say, and I would go toe to toe with anybody and be like, on average overall, that's how much it's changed, and that obviously is massive. That is huge. Like, you can't be in business in that sector when you're on fixed price, unless the biggest thing we're trying to get in is fluctuation clauses. Fluctuation clauses really is one of the last biggest things I want to try to get into all of our contracts. So like, we'll agree, we'll fix the price and we'll take the first year's worth of risk, so to speak. And we'll even take the first 5% of inflation risk, whatever, or 2 years worth of forecast. So call it 6%. We can price that in. We've got our inflation factor in our appraisal. We've got our contingency and all the other prices bumped up for inflation. That's no problem. But if it blows up again, then obviously the only thing to protect you is a fluctuation provision.
But just to combat on that, the way I see it slightly differently to that, Dorian, because that's targeting the inflating element, right? But the way any whole market sale is, if you had a pie chart that has each section says finance, professional fees, construction, profit margin, land value, right? And then your GDV is everything on the outside. If that build cost increases, it's got to give somewhere else, or the GDV gets greater. So it's all well and good putting a fluctuation clause in there, but if you didn't get the land at the price because land values aren't changed yet in the market, or the sales values aren't realized in the market yet, you've lost money regardless. If you've got a fluctuation provision, there's no movement on that pie chart. The market needs to be in inflation times. The market needs to be incentivized by dropping base rates, which is kind of the principle of this conversation. Or you need to ride out until land values are realized, because there's no space for profit. We just won't do it, and they're not incentivized to do it because there's no margin in it. So I completely agree. You can focus on the segments.
Yeah,
but also
on the structuring side of it, so and I agree with that. So the way we combat that is by the vast majority of our deals is structured on options or conditional contracts. So and before we enter into contract, at that point in time, everything is assessed and reappraised and proper costed to see, right, does this work as of now? And then really, as long as that's the case, we will do the deal. If it doesn't work as of now, based on updated data, because you could be in planning for 2 years, then we won't proceed on the deal. Obviously, we'll renegotiate. But providing it still works as of now with the most up to date cost data, and we have to plan, then it's great. But everything gets locked in at that point. So our only remaining risk is no longer the market or the land or the GDV. It is all on the build, and obviously the fluctuation period. So that's just in our business model. But the development cycle overall with our pipeline, that risk is definitely still the market risk and inflation. But that's why we structure most of our deals in giving ourselves as much flexibility as we can. That's the way we're de-risking that.
What do you guys make of just sort of segueing on from this kind of conversation? But I know you've spoken about it before, D. What do you guys make of the later living market? Like, do you think that's something worth looking into? Because it's like the biggest emerging market in the UK right now, right? Where you've got a lot of old people who need accommodation. There's not enough accommodation for them. They might need some spectrum of care provision. Like, do you think there's opportunity there for developers like us? Like, what do you make? Do you think it's too high an entry point? Do you think it's highly regulated? What's the sort of consensus? I know, D, you've looked into this before.
I've done some tours and stuff of some later living sites and build to rent later living and trying to. And I've spoken to several different funds, and there's an appetite if you can try to get one to be what's called an affordable later living site, but they're very hard to make financially work. Basically, there was the one company that was making it work that I went to go and see. They're only making it work because the fund that were buying it was buying on such a compressed yield, just because that particular. It was very yield sensitive, basically.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is a huge market. I think there's a market in anything growing, and I also think it's quite a good market in the sense that 99% of the accommodation in the UK isn't suitable for the elderly accommodations. That opens up a massive value in not only the construction, but the fit outs, the care, the transportation, the feed, the catering, the wrapping it all up together. And HMOs are young professionals, right? Young professionals can't afford housing because of rising living costs and renting costs. So then there pops up this market of HMOs. HMOs exist because of an opportunity in the young professional market. You're essentially building a new market, which is exactly the same as that. And I can't see HMOs dying a death at least in the next 2 decades, because there's so much discrepancy between renting a 1-bedroom flat and renting an all-in rent 1-bedroom bedroom. And that discrepancy creates value in the market, and that's why it's so popular. but that had to be done privately. There's no public sector doing HMOs.
Well,
So then you may I'd say elderly living could be something that would fall into the public sector, but the first movers are private. We go opportunity, boom, 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 get it done. So I think it's probably one of the best opportunities, if I'm honest, not just a opportunity, one of the best.
I'm happy you raised this, mate, because there's been quite a lot of movement in the political sphere on HMOs. I don't know if you guys have seen, but different MPs, and notably Nigel Farage in one of his latest talks, literally, he basically said these words, and you can go and find it. He said, we need to stop the HMO crisis. There's too many HMOs. They're like causing so antisocial behavior and all these problems for different streets. Like, we've got to solve the problem. What he's doing is throwing in two different basket cases to the same basket, one being the private stuff, one being the social stuff, where there's a lot of issues that comes with just chucking in some unsavory characters onto any given sort of family street. That's different to what the private sector's doing, but it's all getting chucked into HMO basket. And that political pressure is scary, because you know what they'll do? They'll create some stupid policy that's unthought out, and the council is going to love it, because there'll be some kind of incentive model for them to make money out of it as well. And I can see there's going to be some kind of headwind regulation or some complication that's going to come in. Like, they've just brought in selective licensing in some of the areas that we're doing cluster flats in, which means now 3 or 4 occupants also need to be a licensed HMO, which does change the game a little bit on some of those things. So I just think there's going to be issues coming with just operating HMOs. Not that they won't be profitable, just that there's going to be more and more hoops to jump in, because they're now becoming a politically hot topic because of the social stuff, not the private stuff. Private stuff's fine, but they're throwing it all into one basket. And the reason being, because you could start professional, but then you could make it social. So unless they create a clear division, I don't know what will happen. See you later, Stu.
I've got to go. Yeah, see you later, boys. Sorry, I wouldn't be here
mate.
for longer, but D took 20 minutes to come on at the front end. So I'll see you next week, lads.
See you later, mate. Have you seen this stuff though, Jack?
Yeah, I to be honest, I haven't actually. I actually haven't seen the talk on it. So it's interesting. I mean, they're not wrong. There is a problem in social housing HMOs. There's and I actually don't know why they're targeting the route of the accommodation. And what I'm saying about that is I don't think temporary accommodation should exist in the majority of the market. I think that's ridiculous, that we should be housing people temporarily when it costs 10 times as much per night. It costs resource and it's not a fixed problem. I also don't think we should personally be letting a lot of the people that come into the UK step ahead of people that need housing that are UK, or a veteran is most likely to be fifth in the queue before they get housed. A war veteran that might be homeless or whatever it may be, which is just an absolute slap in the face for people that represented the country to get us to where we are. Yeah. But the problem is the system, not the housing. That if they fix the process and the system and the funding lines and how that's managed, the system, the housing would follow, because you can open it up to private and public sector. So at the moment, for example, let's use an asylum seeker. An asylum seeker come into the UK, they can get housed extremely quickly ahead of a lot of other people that have been homeless in the UK for a very long period of time. And they can go in temporary accommodation that's not so temporary, and that will cost the UK taxpayer probably anywhere near to like 8 times or 80% more as much than if we put them into a fair social housing dorm or whatever it may be that they can stay in for a slightly longer period of time, because they're staying in a hotel, they're staying in a Premier Inn where they've got, someone's premium bought an ex-Premier Inn that's got 70 beds. They've then relet it, sort of almost leased it back out to a temporary accommodation provider. It's on a 5-year lease, costing an absolute fortune just to house people. Whereas if you bought a block of flats and only signed 25-year lease with social housing providers and the tenant staying there for 2 years, the saving between those two for the taxpayer is, you could house 10 times more people. 10 times. That is an insane amount.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I think it's fucking mental, absolutely mental, the temporary accommodation stuff. And they're talking about these new incentives now so that people can take on asylum seekers in their home, and they'll pay the people rent just in their private home. It's just crazy. And the annoying thing is the government has created the issue of the social housing in the first place for the HMOs, and then they're now branding also the private sector stuff into the same umbrella, and they're going to fuck the private stuff because they're trying to regulate the thing that they screwed up, which is just another argument for why the fucking government needs to stay out of the free market. They shouldn't be in housing. I don't know why the government's in housing anyway, other than for seriously vulnerable people, of which there are nowhere near as many as we cater for. Seriously vulnerable people, I understand. We need a safety net. We should. It's a societal good, but that's not the case. You know, we've got 6 million people or so in this country claiming benefits and housing, and it's just like there's no way that's a genuine number. So yeah, bit of a problemo. What do you make of on the HMO point as well? Because I'm starting to see this stuff from valuers, but of the speculative commercial value asset bubble that's starting to appear, particularly on things like HMOs. What I mean by that is in areas where the commercial value of a HMO outstrips the bricks and mortar value, you've then got a VP value that might be, say, 150, but a 6-bed commercial value might be, say, 300 grand. So you've got like a delta of almost 100% on top of the bricks and mortar value. And apparently valuers and RICS have reissued guidance to make lenders more conservative on their commercial values, because there's this kind of potential commercial debt bubble building up against the asset base of HMOs in the UK.
Yeah,
what do you think?
I mean, I've literally been talking about this for a decade. And like Stu said about drawing a line in the sand, there's probably a podcast somewhere that I could pick up and sort of say it. Essentially, in the when we had the credit crunch in 2008, the issue wasn't actually borrowing at that time to get into the problem. You could go out and get 100% mortgages. What you're referring to is like 150% mortgages in today's market.
200%.
Oh, all 200%. So it's gonna be a problem. The biggest problem where it comes is if you go to a location and you want to build a portfolio that you solely own in that particular location. Maybe you're an early adopter to HMOs being in that location, and then it starts to get really popular because you've proven the model. Your original valuations at 300k, I think you said, on a house that's worth 150. So 300k on its investment valuation and 150 on its bricks and mortar valuation.
Yeah.
What happens is you take out a highly leveraged mortgage to do number two, and then what happens is, as more people go to the market, the room rates drop. So the original 300 valuation is now less. So what's happened is you're now in technically negative equity, which is the problem, right? And I think it's been around and won't go away. People will be over leveraging investment valuations. We actually, out of our whole portfolio, probably 5%, if not less, are on investment valuations for this exact reason. Obviously we are in a high value area, so it's easier to make that model work down here, and granted. And in actual fact, I always say in our portfolio building strategy, I always say to investors, it's good to have two things. Start building a portfolio for high cash flow first, then start building a portfolio for capital appreciation. Let the high cash flow portfolio feed the high capital appreciation portfolio, and take it because you'd rather have it than not. Something is better than none of nothing. So I know why the reason that the valuers are now changing is because they've been sued on the PI cover because banks have had to repossess buildings. That's essentially the full circle of what's happened. It's now gone full circle that there's been so many cases where the banks go, hang on a second, 3 years ago, this valuer valued this house at 300k and now it's worth 240 on refinance. The developer hasn't got the cash to put it in it to balance out the difference. So, doesn't, maybe they should have perceived that or looked ahead of that. And then what happens? Bank takes the property back. They forego a fire sale. They lose, maybe 80, 90p in the pound. They try and sue the valuer. The valuer goes, shit, we need to be a bit more cautious of this and plan for the future rather than just value it on today's merits, which is difficult because you'll have the cyclication of that town or market. And I think that there's some areas where you probably could be quite bullish on commercial valuations because it takes a little bit of time for everyone to jump on board and go into those areas. But I mean, it's all I would say is if you're doing commercial valuations that outstrip the bricks and mortar valuations, like you say, Rye, just be very cautious on how you gear your sort of roadmap to growth.
Yeah.
I
I think that the important thing you said there, and this as a family, is with our own portfolio, we've been moving to balance it so that have the cash flow stuff, but to me the apartment freehold blocks, that's where the like long term, I think you want to be really weighting your portfolio on apartment blocks if you want income and retention, to also get the economies of scale with one roof, one freehold, multiple units of income, things like that. Just because if you balance everything on HMOs and there is some issue that happens in the next 10, 15 years, that could be a big problem. You might be paying down a whole load of equity to get out the mortgage or the fixed rate that you're in when it comes up to expire. So what do you think, D? Do you have any 2 cents on this? Have you heard about this before? Spoken about this before?
No, not to be honest with you, I don't really have too much of an opinion on it because I'm not actively in the HMO market. Obviously, we do multi-unit, but they're purpose-built social stuff gone through the planning system. So it's and everything in Wales requires full planning. So it goes through quite a rigorous application and approval process. But in terms of the mechanics of commercial vals versus bricks and mortar stuff, it was the same with commercial as well. It really just to depend on the case by case basis. If you can not go over bricks and mortar value, great. Sometimes though there is a case for doing so, and it just really just depend on the type of deal it is, how genuine commercial is it, and the demand is like everything. So there's a case by case basis, and also if you've got a diversified portfolios, like there is nothing wrong with over leveraging one asset if you've got an on balance, a decently or under leveraged portfolio. That's just because sometimes it's easier to raise funds on one asset versus others that might be in the portfolio. So everyone's got to look at it individually. Like I would do that. I would gear up a building at 200% loan to value, provided my overall portfolio is well within parameters.
But I would even just playing devil's advocate on that. I would even gear up more of the portfolio across the board higher if you're in growth mode. If you're in strategic growth mode and you're going, right, I'm putting my chips on the table, I'm growing. But if the outcome of the leverage on the portfolio is going to be worse off if your growth is successful, that's a problem. You're creating a hub.
That would be a problem, definitely, yeah. And that's just where though, when property developers and investors started growing, these types of decisions, they shouldn't really be made on whims. Like you need to. This is a strategic, financial directive, analysis and assessment and scenario planning. As your portfolio starts going into the millions, it's a business. You've got to, you should treat that as the same. You're making a multi-million-pound decision in a multi or deca-million-pound business. You've got to do that with finesse and strategy, and statistically, you could still be very wrong.
Yeah, we have and Matt's here as my witness on our on any calls I have with investors now who want to get into HMOs. I literally tell them this problem, and I'm like, knowing that, do you still want to go ahead? And that within 10 years' time, I don't know what's going to happen. As a family, we've still got some large HMOs that are going through, and we're still bullish on them. But just bear in mind that there is potentially this speculative commercial asset bubble that's building. How do you feel about that? If you're happy with that and you're comfortable with the potential downside that you might need to put in equity later on, if it does happen, worst comes to worst, you'll still make good yield. But these things can happen. And I think it's on us as developers to make sure that we educate our investors to what the real kind of outcomes are if there are market shifts or headwinds that we can see coming. Otherwise, create an issue later. But you're in a good place though, Jack, innit? Because your bricks and mortar values are higher than your commercial values anyway.
Yeah, so we've got a house in Henley-on-Thames. We bought for 500, spent 100 on it, revaled on a bricks and mortar valuation at 800, and I think on in investment value is probably worth 650, 700. So yeah, massively. And there are areas that we're operating in where you could probably argue it's similar. And we've got a couple of sui generis ones coming through at the moment. So we're not opposed to gearing stuff up, but definitely in just the HMO sphere. We've obviously got the benefit in our portfolio that we're very diverse. We've got a surveying company, a lettings and management arm that manages blocks of flats. We've got blocks of flats. We've got HMOs. We've got the development business. We've got the social housing portfolio. So they kind of balance each other out in terms of their risks. But yeah, it's Dorian summarised it all perfectly. A risk is huge risk if it's not understood in strategy, strategized.
And on that risk, I've got to go and shoot and take my kids to school. Otherwise, they're going to be late and I'll get a fine. So
yeah, mate.
Respect.
Time to disband. But look, thank you everyone who's listened to this episode so far. Make sure you subscribe and share the episode with anyone else who you think might find it useful. It means a lot to us if you can share it, because obviously we're trying to expand this network, expand the audience, try to be as useful as we can to people, investors, developers, people looking to get into the property space, or if you're running businesses. Talk a lot about business here as well. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you share it with other people, like, comment. And if you want us to do a live event, I know we spoke about it on the last podcast. If you think we should do some kind of live event, then let us know. Drop it in the comments on the YouTube channel. It's just easy for us to see it that way. And let us know if we did one. What would you want to see? All that kind of stuff. That would be useful for us. But yeah, big love. See you on the next episode.
Ground up sound. Ooh, yeah.